Much better today than yesterday. Not that yesterday was bad. As I said, I just felt like we got off to a little bit of a slow start. Today it was awesome. The guys were flying around. It was intense. It was physical. A couple guys didn't finish practice. Juju actually got something in his eye that they just couldn't wash out, so they took him inside to try to wash it out. We don't think it's serious at all. John Plattenberg appears to be a thigh bruise. We just want to make sure we're taking him into x-rays. If it's more than that, we'll let you guys know. And then the only other guy really that was somewhat of a concern today was Leon McQuay. He's still non-contact for us, but we think he'll be ready to go by Thursday night. So that on that front was positive. We got more out of Soma today. Again, more out of Vajayne, more out of Gerald Bowman, Leonard, all those guys. So it was good practice that way. A lot cleaner. I think understanding the game plan in all three phases was good. And like I said, I loved the intensity of practice. I thought it was great.
What happened? I know Leon collided with Adoree in the game. Was it a shoulder or
yeah,
it's
a shoulder. Yeah.
A lot of the UCLA guys were already talking about USC after
we play Cal
game.
Thursday night.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, is there any worry at all about guys looking ahead or anything like that?
I don't know why there would be. We're going to play a team that if you don't score 35, you're not in the game. So we better be ready to play.
Steve, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a story in our paper today about Ed Ogeron, and he had talked about how in his mind, the door is open to come back. He'd like to come back to SC. Could you see that happening?
I'd say this about Ed. Ed's a terrific football coach. He's a friend of mine. I have a great deal of respect for Ed, but quite honestly, we play Cal Thursday night at 6 o'clock.
Is that unsettling to an assistant coach when they read him saying, I would like to come back to USC as an assistant coach?
I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of guys that want to come back to USC as an assistant coach. This is a great place. It's an unbelievable place to be at.
You did talk about when that initially happened that you had offered him a position, and he said he turned it down. Could you see him working on your staff at some point?
Honestly, we play Cal Thursday night at 6 o'clock. I don't speak about hypothetical scenarios.
So, you guys have played a bunch of freshmen on the offensive line. You lost Chad Wheeler. It seems like the guys have somehow held it all together no matter what circumstances are. How do you assess the offensive line?
It's been awesome.
Play?
I mean, they continue to improve. I'm really proud of those guys. They played some good fronts. And I think it's a credit to Tim Drevno and the job he's done with those guys. I think it's a credit to the players and their willingness to be versatile. We really pushed them in training camp. Even if you remember, we used a lot of different groupings and different things just to get guys exposure at different spots. And that's paying off for us now. If you remember, we were putting Toa some out there at tackle in training camp. Boom, here it is. It shows up for us. Khalil Rogers was playing both guards in training camp, and Vianney and Damian. So we've been fortunate that when guys' numbers have been called, they've had the ability to step up and understand the scheme and do a good job.
If there's an area you'd like to see that group improve in or clean up, what would it be?
Well, you always, and at least me, I shouldn't say you always, I always want to have the ability to run the football, regardless of the scenario, regardless of the situation. Granted, you got to have scheme. You got to have the right schemes in place to do it in the right scenarios. But you also want a group that, no matter what, can dig down and believe in themselves and get that done. We've had a couple opportunities to do it. It just didn't finish the way I would have liked. So if there's an area in these last 3 games, I mean, all 3 of these games are going to be tough, hard-fought games, is that we're going to have the ability to close out the football game with an emphasis on running the ball. And to do that, those guys are going to have to play well to make that happen.
With the athleticism and movement that Khalil showed in the Washington State game, could that maybe open up some different areas in your running game?
Well, oddly enough, he replaced a really athletic guy too in Toa, so we really just didn't skip a beat. We didn't lose a lot of the things that we had. We love to pull our guards, and Vianney and Toa gave us that. And then now with Toa going to tackle and Khalil stepping in at guard, we were able to continue doing that. Those guys are all athletic. They all pull with an intention to be physical when they get to the point of attack, and we didn't skip a beat, quite honestly.
As a quarterback coach and a head coach, when you have a quarterback that's at a 25-2 ratio, I mean, how do you evaluate that?
Well, it's a pretty remarkable number. I think that, as I've said before for Cody, I don't know if he's getting quite the recognition I think he probably deserves, but that's it's really not for me or for Cody or anybody to worry about. What I do know, he's going to have some really cool opportunities here this last month of the season in November to have a couple of these maybe defining type moments. And the key for us and the key for Cody is to capitalize on them, to make the most of them, to be at our best at the most critical moments. And we're going to need him to be if we want to accomplish what we think we're capable of accomplishing.
He said you kind of come up with some of the goals or the numbers. Did you have 25 and 2 in mind?
No. I think that one's a hard one to really envision. I think traditionally, if you're 3-1 touchdown interception, that's a really good football season for a quarterback. When you start going at the clip he's going at right now, it's a pretty astounding number. Now he could go out and have a couple picks Thursday night. That doesn't mean that we're not going to win the game. Sometimes interceptions happen, tip balls occur, different things happen. My big thing for Cody is that he's throwing it to the proper receiver at the right time, with anticipation, with accuracy, and with confidence in the guys that they're going to go make the plays. And I think that's the biggest area of improvement that we've seen out of him as the season's gone on. But probably the biggest area that I think we can see even more improvement out of his game. And I think he's just starting to get an idea still of who Juju is as a true freshman, allowing him to go up and make those plays on the ball, to be a compliment to Nelson. Getting George Farmer going again and what he can do that way, or a Stephen Mitchell. So we've got some really cool weapons for him. It's just him throwing it to the right guy on time with anticipation and being accurate, I think, is the key. And when you can do that and you can do it with confidence, generally good things happen. Bad things could too, but for the most part, good things happen.
George Farmer kind of broke out a little bit last game. Is he kind of like getting comfortable in your system?
I think he's healthy. He had a nagging hamstring there that kind of wouldn't go away. We got him involved early in the ball game the other night. I thought that helped George, especially in those elements. When you have a nagging hamstring and it's cold out and you stand around, sometimes that's when you can get a little hesitant. So we got him going early. I mentioned it to T. Martin here just kind of towards near the end of practice. I thought George had one of his better practices of the year today. He was practiced really well. He was physical. He ran hard. So, and he got more opportunities with Juju not being here at practice. So it was good that he sees the opportunity, and we're going to need him. And hopefully continue to build on last week's performance.
What does Darius Rogers have to do to get back? He's kind of been up and down.
Yeah, he's got a nagging hamstring. So he and George kind of flipped roles. Where George had it, and Darius was really healthy and playing good football. As George started to get healthy last week before the Washington State game, Darius's hamstring started to nag him some. So we're just trying to get him back healthy. That's probably the biggest thing, Scott, is just being healthy, get him back out there, because he's a good player when he's healthy. He makes plays for us.
Good. Thanks.
All right, guys, have a great night.
Thanks.